Had Fort Myers Police Department done their job, Mr. Allen and his family would not have been humiliated, and a man would not be loose in Fort Myers right now.
Questioning how police handled his client, the attorney for NFL player Nate Allen raising big concerns tonight about how Fort Myers officers handled a case in which the Southwest Florida native has now been cleared of any wrongdoing. And tonight, someone else, the state attorney, is now raising questions about the method Fort Myers police used to identify suspects.
More on that in just a bit, but we want to tell you what the state attorney's office is saying specifically about the Nate Allen case. The state attorney says Nate Allen, quote, could not have been the perpetrator in an indecent exposure case in which police questioned him for hours last week.
And tonight I'm laying out the new information that now has police instead of Nate Allen on the defensive. It all started last Monday on 41 near this massage parlor and vapor shop when a 16-year-old girl called 911 reporting seeing a man touching himself sexually while in his truck. Investigators say she described the man as of mixed race with a gray or white goatee in his mid-40s or early 50s in a red shirt, white visor, and black pickup truck, possibly a Ford. A short time later, police pulled over this Ford pickup owned by Cape Coral native turned NFL player Nate Allen, who at 27 years old could hardly pass for a man in his 40s or 50s. He did have a light beard, but clearly it was not a gray or white goatee. Like the man the teen described, Nate Allen was wearing a red shirt. He was wearing a white ball cap, not the white visor the teen described. Nevertheless, police handcuffed Allen along the side of Colonial Boulevard and called the teenage caller to the scene.
The 16-year-old girl, don't know what she looks like, was in the back of the cop car, and I was being told just to stand there. And I'm in cuffs at this time. I'm in cuffs, and I'm being told right on the side of Colonial, and I'm being told to stand there.
The teenager reportedly told police Allen was the guy. Nate Allen, who didn't even know why he was stopped, says he spent the next 4.5 hours in police custody, finally asking police a question from a holding cell.
Is there any way that I might have to sleep here tonight? And they were like, well, you know, we're not sure. We don't know what's going to happen. It depends on whether or not you're charged tonight. And I'm like, charged? What is charged with what?
Allen's attorney tells Fox 4 just the length of time Allen was detained points to police incompetence.
What do you think was happening for all those hours that Mr. Allen was sitting in the Fort Myers Police Department?
You know, you'd like to think that for that length of time that they were conducting an investigation, Warren, but I think what was going on is all the officers were sitting around staring at each other, wondering who had screwed up the worst.
In this statement, released a full week after that night, the state attorney suggested a screw-up may have occurred when police brought the young teen caller to face Allen on the side of the road, saying 6 years ago, quote, the courts have found the method used by the Fort Myers Police Department is inherently suggestive and leads to potential misidentification. But on the same day the state attorney said that, the police department released its own statement saying allowing the teen to come to the scene to identify a suspect was, quote, standard protocol. And now, for the first time a week after the teen first called police, the police department is just now asking the public for tips to find the man who touched himself in this part of town where it all started. All of it leaving Nate Allen's attorney shaking his head.
Had Fort Myers Police Department done what their obligation is and to investigate this offense, Mr. Allen would not have been illegally detained, taken to Fort Myers Police Department, had his career jeopardized.
He says Nate Allen's career is very much affected by this because he's entering free agency in the NFL, meaning his contract with the Philadelphia Eagles is up, so the Eagles or other teams are now deciding whether to offer him a contract. Allen's attorney pointing out this dragged on for a week and led to national coverage of allegations of which he's just now being cleared of publicly. We asked if he's going to sue. Attorney Sawyer Smith telling us, quote, it's halftime. We'll be going to the locker room and looking at our playbook.
And Nate Allen's attorney and the state attorney seem to be raising questions about the playbook Fort Myers police are using. His attorney says bringing a victim to identify a suspect face-to-face like that is usually reserved for serious crimes like assault or murder. That clearly was not the case here.
The act for which Mr. Allen was accused is a misdemeanor. It's called indecent exposure. And in Florida, A misdemeanor like that happens outside the presence of law enforcement is a non-arrestable offense.
Now keep in mind, when police initially handed over their findings to the state attorney's office last week, their documents request that the state attorney bring a charge of exposure of sexual organs against Nate Allen. Tonight, the police department says in the days following, detectives obtained video footage, and that video evidence clearly indicated Mr. Allen was not the perpetrator of this offense. Now, the chief of Fort Myers Police has ordered a full administrative review of this incident and says because of that, they will not release any documents or video footage, meaning you cannot actually see what happened. Meanwhile, they say if you do know where the real suspect is or you know anything that can help, you can call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-780-TIPS. And still to come in our next half hour here on Fox 4 News at 10, Nate Allen's mom telling 4 in Your Corner what's getting them through this public nightmare. We're also sharing a steady stream of your calls, your emails, your Facebook posts about how police have handled this. In the meantime, it's never too late to join the community conversation. It's 206-FOX-4. Give us a call or shoot us an email, news@fox4now.com. Of course, you can get real-time updates and see our complete coverage from day one of this story on fox4now.com.
A foggy start to the morning today, clearing up to be really nice later on. A warm one too in Southwest Florida. This is the look from our zoomed-in sky cam at the Pink Shell Resort on Fort Myers Beach. The Storm Patrol's Jim Sine with your forecast first on Fox.
Well, we're starting to see some of that fog make a comeback, and especially here over the last couple of hours, that fog getting a little bit thick. Let's show you our dense fog advisory that just came over recently from the National Weather Service. It does include portions of Southwest Florida. Just after sunset, we probably had a little bit of sea fog in the Gulf of Mexico that was pushed onshore in Lee and Charlotte County. So that dense fog advisory is in effect through tomorrow morning for coastal Lee, coastal Charlotte County, and then obviously the waters in the Gulf of Mexico. Here's the visibility report. Visibility now down to a mile officially at Page Field, also a mile at the Naples Airport. As things are warm and muggy, humidity right now close to 100% with temperatures in the upper 60s. So it's going to start foggy thanks to a lingering front, which is going to be a player for us all this week, and it's going to help to bring us a pretty good chance for rain. We'll have it all for you coming up shortly.
City workers winning the war over wages in Cape Coral tonight. Council members voting in favor of a 10% pay raise for more than 700 employees on city payroll. They're the folks who take care of everything from sidewalks to sanitation in Cape Coral. But as 4 in Your Corner's Katie Jones explains, not everyone was on board.
Well, these employees who were a big topic of debate at tonight's council meeting haven't had any sort of raise in 7 or 8 years. Many of them have even taken a pay cut. And the union president tells me their compensation is long overdue. You see them working on your streets, in your parks, and at many places of business.
Custodians, administrative staff, the folks that take care of your sidewalks.
Union President Richard Jones says these 730 city-paid employees haven't seen a raise in nearly a decade. Some have even had their salaries cut.
I actually make less now than when I started working for the city.
So the union's been fighting for fair wages. Past budget woes have kept them waiting, and Jones says it's been long enough. He says many of these workers have been struggling to survive.
A lot of them turn paycheck to paycheck, trying to get by, make sure they get their bills paid, get to work, and take care of their kids.
The majority of city council members were on board with a 10% raise, agreeing it's necessary. Councilwoman Raina Erbrick concerned that the amount is just too much.
I understand that there's a majority up here, but in all honesty, even the private sector is not handing over these types of raises. And they've gone a few years without giving their employees raises.
But others argue if the issue isn't resolved now, the raise demands could go even higher. Union officials say the amount is fair and will help hundreds of employees move forward.
There's some relief. We've finally come to an agreement with the city, and the employees are now going to receive a well-deserved raise.
These raises will go into effect immediately. 5% was already in the 2015 budget, and the other half was a retroactive pay raise, and I'm told that money will come from savings in the general fund. Reporting in Cape Coral tonight, Katie Jones, Fox 4 in your corner.
Still to come on Fox 4 News at 10, IRS irritation in Southwest Florida. Why dozens of people say they were turned away even before the IRS office doors were closed. Plus,
he told us that all of the books were adult books, and they had a whole bunch of bad words and bad sentences in them.
Scandalous school project, parents' concerns in Southwest Florida after their elementary school kids received some racy books from a teacher.
Are your kids safe when you send them to school? A 4 in Your Corner special report shedding new light on recent arrests of Southwest Florida teachers and how the districts are working to weed out the bad apples. That is next.
Foggy start tomorrow morning for much of Southwest Florida, and we're already starting to see some of that fog develop and actually move in from the Gulf of Mexico. We've had some sea fog through the afternoon with an onshore wind. Some of that sea fog rolled into coastal sections of Charlotte and Lee County over the last couple of hours. That's a live look from the Zoom Tan Skycam. At the Best Western waterfront, we're looking toward downtown North Fort Myers, and you can see that there. It looks kind of foggy. Visibility now a mile, officially at Page Field. Here's downtown Punta Gorda, which does not look quite as foggy. But across the board, we think we're going to be waking up with that fog, and it will be on the thick side, I think, first thing in the morning. Here's a look at earlier in the day, actually pretty much your entire day at the marina at Cape Harbor. You can see how we had some fog earlier, some clouds associated with a front. It's a stationary front that's over southern Florida. Then as we got to the later afternoon, skies cleared off. Right now it is very muggy. We have 67 degrees for current temperature, humidity at 100%. Now we have a bit of a breeze, winds from the northwest at about 9 miles per hour. Those winds by tomorrow morning are going to be close to calm, and that's when it's probably going to be the foggiest. Dense fog advisory issued by the National Weather Service through tomorrow morning. It includes coastal Lee County, coastal Charlotte County, and then the open waters of the Gulf of Mexico. Here are the visibility reports. Was down to a mile at the airport in Naples. Now it's 2 miles, a mile officially at Page Field, and actually the airport in Charlotte County, 10-mile visibility at the last report. So we'll start with that fog and some cloudiness, but then after that, afternoon is going to be great, high temperature in the upper 70s. Here's this front that's just going to kind of sit over Southwest Florida over the next couple of days. With this front hanging around, it's going to help to keep the atmosphere kind of saturated. That's how it is right now close to the surface. We actually have some drier air aloft. That's probably capping the atmosphere, keeping that low-level moisture close to the surface, one of the reasons why it's already getting foggy. And then as we go a little bit farther to the north, you see this mixed precipitation making its way from Mississippi into Alabama. Some of you may remember an anchorman in this town. His name is Trent Butler. He worked here for many years. He now lives in Birmingham, Alabama. He's the main anchor there. He sent me an email tonight. They're getting ready for 4 inches of snow in Birmingham, if you can believe it. Here's a look at the computer model showing us that fog first thing tomorrow morning. Plenty of sunshine, though, in the afternoon. But by late Wednesday, we're tracking an area of low pressure in the Gulf of Mexico, an area of low pressure that's going to bring us some rain, but not until Thursday. So here's your Power of 4 zone forecast. We start with the inland zones. It is going to be foggy in LaBelle, Moorhaven, and Palmdale. After that, though, looking good with a high temperature close to 80. Dense fog advisory in effect for Englewood, Rotunda, Port Charlotte, and Punta Gorda. After the fog is gone mid-morning, partly cloudy, very nice, high in the upper 70s. Dense fog for the coastal zones, too, especially in the Cape and Fort Myers. Northeasterly winds at about 5 to 10, and morning fog for the beaches, too. Northeasterly winds at about 10 knots expected all day for the boaters. So once the fog is gone, not a bad boating day. Light chop expected on the bay and in the waters with seas around 2 feet, although some of that sea fog could be kind of stubborn through the morning. Mainly dry on Wednesday, then on Thursday. That's our rain day this week. About a 60% chance for showers and thunderstorms. Maybe a couple more on Friday, but your weekend looking dry and comfortable with highs in the upper 70s and low 80s. Fishing forecast courtesy of Captain Leon. He says the bite is definitely on the improve. The trout right now are near the grass flats, and he expects a good week. With the warmer temperatures in place, he thinks that the bite is going to be improving all week. That is your fishing forecast right here on Fox 4.
From handcuffed and behind bars to the front of your kid's classroom, many of you might have noticed what seems to be an uptick of teachers behaving badly here in Southwest Florida. In the past year alone, we've reported on several school district employees and educators all over the area committing serious crimes. 4 in Your Corner's Katie Jones investigates the Lee County School District's hiring process and if officials are doing enough to keep your kids safe.
It's the largest employer in Lee County, expected to protect and educate your children. And we wanted to know how teachers in the Lee County School District get their jobs in the first place.
Accusations of drunk driving, sex with minors, battery, and assault. They are the serious charges connected to these mugshots, pictures of those responsible for your children.
We do as much as is possible to do, but unfortunately sometimes things happen that we just we could not have predicted in any way, shape, or form.
Dr. Angela Pruitt is the Executive Director of Human Services for the Lee County School District. She oversees recruitment, staffing, and professional standards.
It's a very, very lengthy and comprehensive process, and we're thoughtful in how we do it because we want to make sure that our employees are people that we want to have working for the school system.
Dr. Pruitt says from the moment a potential employee first steps through the doors, their #1 priority is your student's safety. She says every employee offered a job must go through a fingerprinting process that scans and searches for any possible criminal record. And these federal background checks can detect any offense, no matter when or where it happened.
We have some occasions where an employee may think that, well, it was 30 years ago and it was in another state, but we find it.
During the hiring process, an applicant is asked a series of security questions like, have you ever been found guilty of a criminal offense, or have you ever been imprisoned or jailed? If they've answered yes, Dr. Pruitt says they investigate further.
And we will either request court documents, we may request a statement from the employee so that we can look further into the matter. We investigate whatever that reason is behind the person's answering positively to a security question.
And when records come back, if the district discovers key information wasn't disclosed, they won't be hired. But last year, a Fox 4 investigation revealed Dunbar High School student service specialist and assistant football coach Patrick Boston lied on his application. According to his personnel file, he answered no to several security questions and was ultimately hired. However, he has a very long rap sheet, 22 arrests in 20 years. So how was he ever allowed to be around children?
Just being arrested of a crime doesn't mean that you were guilty of anything. So you have to look at the totality of the situation, and then from there, it's looked at through our professional standards department.
The school district refuses to discuss details of the Boston investigation, but stated that they are aware of the application discrepancy and would address it in its current investigation. That begs the question, how many other employees have lied and gotten away with it? Although Boston was arrested nearly 24 times on charges of assault and battery, possession of illegal substances, and driving with a suspended license, none of them disqualified him from employment because in certain cases, he wasn't convicted. Dr. Pruitt says they follow school board policy and Florida statute, which does allow employees to commit certain offenses and still keep their jobs.
If it's, let's say, past 10 years, then you're eligible to be hired into the district. Certain charges you are never going to be allowed if you've ever been convicted.
We reached out to the State Board of Education to see if they think rules and regulations should be more strict, but haven't heard back. Dr. Pruitt says in Lee County, they're working to improve school board policy.
Looking at if there's open investigations going on, that we would hold off on hiring that employee until the conclusion of that investigation. So again, not changing the policy per se, but just tightening it up just to make sure that we're doing the best we can do in the best interest of everyone in the district.
Both Collier and Charlotte County School Districts both have similar school board policies that also follow state statute. In the studio, Katie Jones, Fox 4 in your corner.
Thank you, Katie. Bed bugs are crawling into Southwest Florida in record numbers, and it could cost you thousands to pay exterminators to fix an infestation. And without knowing what to look for, you might not even spot the problem until it's too late.
Bed bugs are fairly cryptic, so you don't see them during the day normally, unless the infestation is just so out of control that they don't have any more cracks and crevices within the house to live.
And you might be surprised to find out where people are picking up the creepy crawlers and bringing them back into their homes. We're going to tell you where and how to protect your family. And when you can check it all out in our 4 in Your Corner special report, it's Wednesday night on Fox 4 News at 10. Tension at the mall lately. The statements from a terror group and America's Homeland Security chief that has some people avoiding shopping. Plus,
he's the sweetest, kindest, most gentle person ever.
Sweet and kind and put through the ringer. The mom of a local NFL player now cleared of wrongdoing, speaking out, and we're sharing your views too. That's next.
More now on local NFL player Nate Allen cleared of allegations of indecent exposure, and Fort Myers police under fire for how they handled the case, detaining him for more than 4 hours. Here's what some of you are telling us.
The police department are really quick to lock somebody up and to not look at all the facts. Had it not been a superstar or a football player that could defend himself and afford a good lawyer, it would have been adios for you.
Pam writing on Facebook, I find it deplorable that our system allows this type of profiling. I think somebody on the police force was looking for 15 minutes of fame at the expense of a really good kid. Don't they realize the implications of such actions? FMPD should be held accountable. Let us know what you think about Nate Allen being cleared and how police handled this case. 239-206-FOX4 or news at Fox 4 Now.
Irritating IRS lines. Why dozens of Southwest Florida residents were turned away from IRS offices after waiting in line for hours. Plus,
everybody calls him a mama's boy. I don't know that that's good, but hey, I love it.
the mom of a local NFL star smiling about their close relationship, concerned about false allegations that took a week to clear up. That's next.
4 in your corner following breaking news in Lee County right now. Florida Highway Patrol investigating a deadly crash in Lehigh Acres. We're told this happened just after 9 o'clock at the intersection of Joan Avenue North and Lee Boulevard. Parts of Lee Boulevard closed right now as troopers investigate. We have a crew headed to the scene, and we're going to bring you any new information as we get it for you. More now on tonight's top story. The state attorney clearing local NFL star Nate Allen of all wrongdoing after Fort Myers police detained him for hours.
The state attorney says Allen, quote, could not have been the offender in an indecent exposure case.
The state attorney going even further, saying the way police identified Allen as a potential suspect is, quote, a suggestive method that, quote, leads to potential misidentification. Police stopped Allen, who's 27 years old, after a teenager reported seeing a man in his 40s or 50s doing something inappropriate in his truck. Well, now, a week after handcuffing Allen, police say they're still looking for that man.
And Fort Myers Police Chief Doug Baker now says he has ordered a review of how this case was handled.
More coverage for you. Nate Allen's mom talking to 4 in your corner about what's happened. This is him with his family here, saying she never doubted his innocence. She's proud of how he was raised and says the family relied on faith from the very moment police detained him.
Nate literally has been in the church his whole life at McGregor Baptist, and we just knew, though, deep down that God was going to take care of everything.
Again, Nate Allen cleared of all wrongdoing. In an interview with Fox 4 last week, he talked to the compassion that's a hallmark of his faith, his mom referred to, saying he's taking a forgiving attitude. And you can keep up to the date on the latest information about Nate Allen being cleared of these allegations and what police are saying about how they handled it on fox4now.com.
Long lines and nowhere to go. A Lehigh Acres couple wants answers about why the IRS office in Fort Myers is turning away dozens of people hours before it even closes. The couple took off work to try and get their issues resolved, and now 4 in your corner's Gabrielle Serran is going to work for them, trying to get answers. Gabrielle.
Amy, this couple wants answers and say they're just trying to square away their taxes. They say they call the Internal Revenue Service and do exactly what they're told. This morning, they showed up at the office in Fort Myers for the 3rd time. For this couple, Monday morning was full of frustration.
I was so upset that I called you guys.
Erica Mattios and her boyfriend Ethan had just been turned away from the IRS office in Fort Myers after waiting in line for 4 hours. They took these pictures showing they weren't the only ones. People were leaning against the wall, others camped out on the floor.
People falling asleep, waiting in line. There were about every kind of people there. People with newborn babies, people with disabilities, elderly people.
Yet they got nowhere. They say hours before the office closed at 4 o'clock, a staffer made this announcement.
She said that they were not going to see nobody else. That was it for the day, 12:30.
A lot of people get mad. Everybody was yelling, like, how's that can be possible?
So what gives? I called the regional office of the IRS twice. This is Gabrielle Serran with Fox 4. And left 2 messages, but no one returned my voicemail. Furious and disappointed, the couple went home.
I think it's not fair. We took off today from work, just to resolve that issue again.
At issue is Ethan's 2013 tax return. They say the government owes him a refund, but it never sent the money.
And the person that we have talked to?
2 years, countless calls, and 3 office visits later, they say his taxes are still in limbo.
We are trying to be responsible with the IRS to pay our taxes, but they are not helping us at all.
And Santana says an official told him to return tomorrow to take care of his taxes, but he says he can't take off from work again. In the past, the IRS has said budget cuts have affected staffing, leading to longer wait times both in person and on the phone. Gabrielle Saran, Fox 4, in your corner.
All right, thank you, Gabrielle. And if you ever have a problem you want 4 in your corner to look into, give us a call. It's 206-FOX-4, or you can email us anytime, news@fox4now.com.
More trouble for a former Lee County Sheriff's deputy accused of stealing property and cash while wearing his badge back in 2013. The state attorney's office indicting 43-year-old Michael Ronga on federal charges. He's charged with violating civil rights and obstruction of justice. In 2013, Ronga allegedly drove a man to a dark street, punched him in the face, and stole his phone and his cash while on duty. If he's convicted, he faces a maximum penalty of 10 years in federal prison for that civil rights charge and up to 20 years in federal prison for the obstruction of justice charge.
The search continues tonight for suspects involved in a shooting that happened right near a school bus stop this morning in Fort Myers. Police say it happened about 6:15 near the intersection of Fowler Street and Willard Street in Fort Myers. The police there say 18-year-old Malik Gary suffered non-life-threatening injuries and was rushed to the hospital by a family member. Now, officers on scene were forced to rope off several nearby streets as they were combing for clues, which delayed several buses that were on their way to school this morning. So if you have any information about this shooting that can help police out, call Crime Stoppers. The number's 1-800-780-TIPS.
Tampa authorities now say the body they recovered from a car sunken in a lake is that of the missing woman with ties to Southwest Florida. The Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office saying the body found yesterday afternoon is likely that of 33-year-old April Foster. Deputies recovering the car less than a mile away from her home after boaters ran into it. She was last seen on February 13th in Tampa, where she visited 2 bars and sang some karaoke after work. She was also well known on Fort Myers Beach. She used to work and sing at the Lani Kai Hotel for more than a decade before leaving in 2013. An autopsy is now underway, but deputies do not suspect foul play.
Shopping malls both in the United States and abroad are on high alert tonight after threats made by a terror group that's linked to al-Qaeda. A video released by Somalia's al-Qaeda-linked rebel group Al-Shabaab urged Muslims to strike Minnesota's Mall of America, along with other shopping malls in Canada, Britain, and other Western countries. Now, despite the threat, White House officials say it's not credible here in the U.S.
Al-Shabaab has never shown a capability to operate in a structured way in Western countries, but they're certainly trying to ride on the wave of lone wolf attacks of sympathizers of ISIS and Al-Qaeda in the West.
We are not aware of any specific credible plot against the Mall of America or any other domestic commercial shopping center.
Now, regardless, the Mall of America is taking extra precautions, conducting several lockdown drills.
Warm, muggy evening in Southwest Florida, humidity up near 100%, and yes, we already have some fog developing. We're at a warm 68 right now in Golden Gate, 67 our current temperature in Fort Myers, 69 right now in Palmdale. And we do have a dense fog advisory. This was just issued about a couple hours ago by the National Weather Service. It includes coastal Lee County, coastal Charlotte County, and throughout the day we had some persistent sea fog that was in the Gulf of Mexico, and with our winds becoming onshore by the late afternoon and things started to cool down, we actually had some of that sea fog coming ashore, and we're going to check the visibilities coming up here in just a minute. Now, these are the official reports from the airport. Visibility at 3 miles officially at Page Field. It's a 1 mile visibility right now at the airport in Naples, but let's check it out on the Zoom 10 sky cams and show you exactly how it looks. This is a look at downtown North Fort Myers from our Zoom 10 Skycam at the Best Western Waterfront. You can see that there's a little bit of fog in the distance, but it doesn't appear to be a big deal, and downtown Punta Gorda actually looking very nice right now. We'll talk more about that fog, show you where it's going to be the thickest, and rain's on the way. We'll tell you when, coming up.
Parents coming out tonight in Naples to express their concerns during school board member Erica Donald's first ever town hall meeting. Donald says the meeting was to better inform parents of issues that the board is currently facing. One of the main concerns was when the school year should start. So right now there are 2 start dates in mind, August 17th and 24th. If school starts on the 24th, midterms would fall after students' winter break. Now, starting on the 17th eliminates that problem, but here's the catch. State law says school cannot start more than 2 weeks before Labor Day, which the 17th is. So parents are hoping that law will change.
So I'm definitely going to look into that and write my legislators and try to get a lot of other people throughout the state that I know to also push forward and write their legislators and senators as far as well.
And Donald also spoke about Common Core and textbook requirements. All issues will once again be discussed at the school board meeting next week.
A border battle over business underway tonight between Lee and Collier counties. Position Logic, which is a GPS tracking company in North Naples, seeking to add more than 40 new jobs within the next year, but found the available office space lacking. So at a forum, the president of Position Logic said he wanted to give his company little room to move north into Lee County. The Collier County Economic Development Office has offered the company a grant of $117,000 now. And at tomorrow's commission meeting, commissioners will vote on whether to approve that incentive. Lee County officials say they've had no meetings with the company and have not made a counteroffer.
A monumental day for the Naples YMCA, officially reopening its doors after a fire destroyed the building back in 2013. The new 3-story area features a 6,000 square foot cardio and weight equipment room, an 8,000 square foot gym, a 9,000 square foot AstroTurf field, which is on the roof. That'll be used for everything from soccer games to family movie nights. The rebuilding is very touching to former members.
The Y is family. We all come here, congregate, talk, spin, and we're one family, so it's great to come back.
A lightning bolt struck the building in September of 2013, causing the building to go up in flames. The Y is offering free memberships until Sunday.
The happiest place on earth getting more expensive for you. How much dough you're going to have to shell out now if you want to visit the theme parks?
Should you feed your kids fats and sugars? Experts are saying yes, why they could benefit your kids. Plus,
the first thing she told me when I walked in was, in art class today, the teacher handed out a book with bad words in it.
Racy reading? Why local kids say their teacher told them not to tell mom and dad. Next.
Adult content in children's hands? One Lee County mom is fired up after she says a teacher gave her daughter a raunchy book. The books were handed out in art class for an art project, and even though the books weren't meant for reading, this mom says it was totally inappropriate. 4 in Your Corner, Sarah Belsel taking her concerns straight to the school district.
You like my club? He asked. His guests couldn't take their eyes off the girl in the long red wig swinging naked on the pole.
A passage from an adult novel, but this book doesn't belong to Mom Stacy Grand. Her 9-year-old daughter got it at school.
The first thing she told me when I walked in was, in art class today, the teacher handed out a book with bad words in it.
The books were for a Christmas art project.
She told us that all of the books were adult books and they had a whole bunch of bad words and bad sentences in them, and she told us not to tell our parents.
But Gabby did, and her mom read the book, highlighting words and phrases she considered inappropriate for a child.
Take the blood from the dead body to use it.
The books have titles like Beyond Suspicion and Prior Bad Acts, and detail crime, sex, and violence.
You know, the mob things that go on, pretty much what you see on TV late at night is what's in this book.
So you knew right away that it was stuff you shouldn't be reading?
Mm-hmm. I reached out to the school district. A spokeswoman tells me the art teacher admitted she didn't screen the books before she gave them out to her students. She says the teacher has been disciplined and it won't happen again. But Brand says the damage has already been done and the teacher deserves a harsher punishment.
It sticks in their head and opens doors to other things, because we want to keep our kids as innocent as possible.
Sarah Belsel, Fox 4 in your corner.
All right, thank you, Sarah. We want to hear from you about this one. Do you think the teacher should be disciplined if this is a true fact that she gave out these books without screening them before this art project? Give us a call, 206-FOX-4, or email us, news@fox4now.com.
If you want to visit the happiest place on earth, you're going to have to shell out some more money, honey. Disney World announcing over the weekend that one-day ticket prices are now $105 plus tax at the Magic Kingdom. The one-day ticket price for Disney's Animal Kingdom, Disney's Hollywood Studios, or Epcot went from $94 a day to $97, and the multi-day ticket prices and passes went up as well. Cutting junk foods from your kids' diet's important, but if a little sugar or fat helps them eat their veggies, the trade-off is more important. That's right. The American Academy of Pediatrics emphasizing the importance of introducing kids to a wide variety of whole foods. And they say to do that, parents may need to add a little sugar, a little fat, make it more appealing. The recommendations say if the only thing your child will drink is flavored milk, the benefits outweigh the disadvantages.
We are on the fog beat this evening, checking our Zoom 10 sky cams to see how foggy it is. It was foggier a couple hours ago. Our Zoom 10 sky cam right now looking at downtown North Fort Myers. That's the camera that's high atop the Best Western waterfront. We often show you the Caloosahatchee Bridge, but I turned the camera around because I wanted to get more lights. And actually, just before we went on the air at about 9:45, it looked real foggy as visibility is now down to less than a mile in a couple of spots. Downtown Punta Gorda from the Charlotte Harbor Event and Conference Center, not looking very foggy right now, but there is a dense fog advisory in effect, and it does include coastal Charlotte and Lee counties. We're warm, we're muggy, we have 67 degrees officially for our temperature and humidity. Can't get any higher, it's at 100% right now. There's your northwesterly wind at about 8 miles per hour. May have helped to bring in a little bit of sea fog early this evening. We have a dense fog advisory that includes portions of the Gulf of Mexico, then coastal Lee County, coastal Charlotte County. This is in effect through tomorrow morning. When you get up first thing tomorrow, especially just after sunrise, that's where the fog is probably, or when the fog is probably going to be the thickest. Now, visibility is down to 3 miles at Page Field, down to a mile at the airport in Naples, Immokalee with visibility at about a mile right now, and with the winds becoming lighter by first thing tomorrow morning, there you see a very light wind at 8 a.m., it's going to get pretty foggy first thing. 64 degrees at 8 a.m. Once the fog is gone, tomorrow plays out a lot like today. Should be warm, high temperature in the upper 70s. We have this front. We called it a cool front earlier in the day. Now it's really more of a stationary front. It's just going to hang around South Florida for the next couple of days. On the northern side of the front, sure, there is some cooler air, but it's mainly in the panhandle. And look at this, they're getting ready for snow in places that don't normally see snow. A buddy of mine in Birmingham, Alabama said they could see 4 inches of snow in the next 12 hours. There you see the mixed precipitation that's in Mississippi making its way into Alabama right now. Here are the computer models showing us that tomorrow morning, right there, looks like it's kind of foggy. Then after about 9:30, 10 o'clock, the fog is gone, a mainly dry day. Wednesday also looking mainly dry for us, but then something in the Gulf of Mexico, an area of low pressure taking shape. It's going to bring us a real good chance for rain. Who's going to get the heaviest rain? Still yet to be determined. It looks like North Florida is probably going to be a little bit wetter than Southwest Florida, but Thursday is going to be a rain day, and it looks like we could get over a half an inch of rain in some places. Your Power 4 zone forecast. We're going to have some morning fog, obviously, for Lehigh, LaBelle, Palmdale, Lakeport. After that, high temperature close to 80. Dense fog for the harbor zones. That's Port Charlotte, Punta Gorda, Rotunda, then 77 to 79 in the afternoon. Going to start foggy in the coastal zones too, especially in Fort Myers and Cape Coral, as well as Pine Island. Northeasterly winds at about 5 to 10 with a high in the upper 70s. Beaches, you'll have a little bit of patchy fog. Then you get to the low to mid 70s for the afternoon high beaches. Again, going to be cooler because of the Gulf. Now, it's at 68 at this point. It was in the low 60s about 2.5 days ago, but with the warm weather over the weekend, that Gulf came up pretty quickly. Partly sunny and dry Wednesday, then Thursday, scattered showers, maybe even a thunderstorm. 1 or 2 showers are possible again on Friday. But behind that area of low pressure, we really don't get much cooler. As a matter of fact, we're up at 78 Saturday, 82 Sunday. Looks like this again is going to be another nice warm weekend. That is your Storm Patrol forecast.
A royal couple in the making? What actress Emma Watson has to say about recent rumors that she is dating Prince Harry.
But first, an Oscar why last night's awards show didn't have quite as many fans as you might think. Next.
The Academy Awards taking a hit this year in the number of people watching. An estimated 36.6 million people watched the Academy Awards, but that is a drop 16% from the year before. This was the lowest viewership since 2009. Last year's Oscars was hosted by Ellen DeGeneres. It had the biggest audience for the annual award show since 2000. This year's show, hosted by Neil Patrick Harris, featured a number of movies that weren't exactly big box office winners, and they faced controversy over lack of ethnic diversity among the nominees. 24-year-old actress Emma Watson turning down rumors that she and Prince Harry are dating. This comes after an Australian tabloid reported that the two were having secret dates and getting to know one another. Watson tweeted yesterday, quote, "World, remember that little talk we had about not believing everything written in the media?" End quote. Michael Phelps is taking the plunge, a different kind of plunge that is. He announced on Twitter yesterday that he asked his girlfriend Nicole Johnson to marry him. The Olympic champion swimmer and the former Miss California have been dating on and off for the past few years now. Phelps holds the record for most Olympic gold medals earned. He got a total of 18.
All new next at 11, a snowy stretch, all for a good cause. The unique class drawing a big crowd in freezing temperatures. Move over, Judge Judy. There's a new judge in town, and he's got a supreme sense of humor. Now this legal eagle is boldly going where no justice has gone before. This is one lucky monkey who will never go banana-less again. Why the pet's owners made him the sole heir of their fortune. Next.